That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all saved your stashes from the last time I made a video about this. Go in your closets, your desk drawers, staple, glue them to your face, make a new one, whatever you gotta do, because this time we're talking about Pops. That's right. What if scenario? What if, in particularly, that war-stricken fateful day at Marineford? Instead of Whitebeard being gunned down by the Blackbeard crew, he grabbed Teach's face and just pounded it into the dirt, ending his existence right there. How different would the One Piece world change if the main villain was essentially wiped out there at Marineford? You know, the neat thing about One Piece, and what makes it so good, there are so many characters in One Piece that, yeah, I would consider Blackbeard the main antagonist of the whole story. Like, that's who Luffy has to ultimately defeat. But even if Blackbeard was removed from the picture, yeah, One Piece wouldn't be as good without that lurking threat. But there's still plenty of other characters Luffy would have to face off against, so it still wouldn't, you know, be a bad story. Like, the story is ruined right there. But yeah, what would happen basically if Blackbeard's plan, his master plan, I'm gonna, you know, seep myself into the government, into the warlords, then I'm gonna break into Impel Down level 6 and steal all of these prisoners, have a jailbreak, and make my awesome crew. Then I'm gonna go to Marineford while the Marines and Whitebeard are fighting it out, and in the middle of that chaos, I'm gonna wipe out Pops, steal his devil fruit power, the strongest paramecia, strike terror into the hearts of the entire world. Then I'm gonna head off to the New World and start up my own pirate fleet as an admiral, as a Yonko. It's the beginning of the era of darkness as I go about stealing devil fruit powers. You know, that was his master plan. Well, what if it failed? What if he was stopped right then and there by Whitebeard at Marineford? How would the rest of the story be different? All right. So, yeah, let's get into it. And by the way, in case you're curious at this point, like, what's All Might doing here? I just thought it would be funny to put Whitebeard's stash on All Might, and looking at it now, I think I'm completely justified in that decision. I think that was the right choice, if you ask me. Do you think it was the right choice? All right. So, this is so funny to imagine, all right, and rather cathartic, considering all the crap Blackbeard pulled, you know, like, the entire first part of One Piece, whenever we first meet him at Jaya to Marineford, it's like, you could tell he's planning something, right? He's building to something, you know, taking out Ace, that was part of it, becoming a warlord was another part of it, like, what's this gonna coalesce to? And it resulted in, no, he's here at Marineford while the Marines and Whitebeard are fighting, and he doesn't show up at the very beginning of the war, he shows up at the end. He shows up when both sides have suffered heavy casualties, Ace is already dead at this point, Luffy's passed out, he's gone, and it's like, you know, Pops is there, he's all beaten up from fighting everybody, taking a crap ton of sword and cannonball wounds, freaking Akainu punched like 2 holes in his chest, part of his face is missing at that point. Careful. Part of his face is missing at that point, you know? And it's like, alright, now Blackbeard arrives on the scene with his crew. Here's San Juan Wolf, this giant amongst giants. Here's all these level 6 prisoners. Shiryu of the Rain is there, plus everybody else. He's got Lafitte, you know, Jesus Burgess. They're all there. And they're like, okay, everybody, now are you ready for a show? And then he does the thing that people thought were impossible, to steal a devil fruit power, to have 2 devil fruits at the same time, as well as wiping out Whitebeard, because their final volley just gunning him down was the thing that eventually finally dropped him. Didn't drop him right away, but that was the thing that eventually ended his life, right? And then they stole his fruit. Okay. Now, there are so many funny ways you can imagine Blackbeard getting the crap beat out of him and just dying right there at the war. Okay, my first thought was like, alright, you know, Whitebeard just, you know, he doesn't even use his Bicento. He just plants his Bicento in the ground and just walks up to Teach. And he's like, Zehan, just grabs him and just boom, 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 boom. Just keeps pounding his face repeatedly into the ground until it's literally just a pile of freaking jello. You know, and that's one way. Another way I thought, and like all of Blackbeard's crew are so horrified of this, they don't even do anything. They all arrive there like, we're gonna do this. And then Whitebeard just walks right through their gunfire and just starts pounding Blackbeard. And everybody's just like Lafitte's there like, oh, Captain! And even like San Juan Wolf, who usually doesn't change his expression very much, is like, you know, he's just slowly like, oh boy. Shiryu's like, okay, I'm just gonna leave. I'm just getting out of here. You know, and then so after like the 50th, like, oh! Just tosses whatever's left of his body off to the side. And he's like, alright! Anybody else want some? And it's this big booming voice with his Gura Gura Nomi, just the sound just radiates throughout all of Marineford. Let me tell you something, guys. Shanks doesn't even need to show up to stop shit at that point. You know, like, Shanks could be arriving on the scene, he'd be like, alright, you got things taken care of. Because after Whitebeard pulls that stunt, and then the echoing, booming voice, you know, who wants some? Every single human being at that point, if they didn't pass out from the sheer conquerors, would just, like, Sengoku would be like, all right, everybody, war's over, we're retreating, everybody just leave. You know, I mean, Ace is executed, we'll call it a day, let's just get out of here. You know, Whitebeard, you can have the island, just out, you know? Oh, man, so that's the first way I pictured it. The second way I pictured it was even funnier to me. Okay, so imagine, you know, Blackbeard shows up, and he makes his declaration, you know, the Marines are there, Whitebeard's there. Imagine everybody at once. You know, I know they're at odds right now. You know, Akainu's not a fan of Whitebeard and everything, and both sides aren't really, you know, on the best of terms. But imagine, at that point in time, everybody, you know, Whitebeard's crew, you know, like Marco, Jozu, everybody, you know, the Impel Down escapees, they're there, Buggy's group, you know, Ivankov, everybody there. Jinbei, I think, is also knocked out at this point. Jinbei went with Luffy. They're on the sub right now getting tended to by Law, so they're not in the picture right now. But all of the warlords, all of the low-ranking Marines, the admirals, Sengoku himself, everybody at once, while Blackbeard is making this speech, is just like, get him! And they just jump on the entire crew at once. Like, Whitebeard can still get the finishing move against freaking Teach, but then it's like Sengoku jumps down and punches Shiryu right in the face, and Sengoku beats the crap out of him, and Garp just jumps up and just punches out San Juan Wolf with one freaking fist. San Juan just lands. Kizaru and Akainu and Aokiji, they take on, like, the level 6 prisoners and everybody else. All the high-ranking members of Whitebeard's crew, you know, Ivankov, the warlords, like, Crocodile decides, you know, screw this, and Crocodile attacks, like, you know, Vasco shot or some shit, and they just start beating the crap, and so just everybody in the entire war notices Blackbeard is the real threat here. It's like, he played us all for saps! Yeah, and just, like, he manipulated everybody, so everybody's pissed at him. And then that's how that ended, with the entire Blackbeard crew just getting annihilated that day, and everybody just kind of like, alright, so this was a good war. Ace is still dead, but, you know, it's like Whitebeard goes up, shakes hands with Sengoku. I'm like, alright, good job. Third scenario. You can just keep going on. I want to hear your scenarios below, but you can just keep going on with this. But the last scenario I thought of, this is a little bit more ridiculous, but just bear with me. The last scenario I thought of was Garp and Whitebeard teaming up. Like, Garp grabs freaking Blackbeard and then holds him up like this, and Whitebeard just progressively just keeps hammering him. And then at the end, he just takes off his mustache. He's like, Uber stash death vice, sing, and then just slices him. And then that's how Blackbeard, that's how it finishes. It turns out Whitebeard's stash is actually a blade. He just can rip it off and just shing, and then that's it. Game over. Okay. So, however you want to imagine Blackbeard's existence ending right there, whatever works for your headcanon, go for it. Trust me, there are no wrong answers. They get funnier the more you come up with crazy scenarios. Oh, wait, I thought of another one. But I can't exactly portray it the way I am right now. If only I had some sort of medium, another form of medium, I mean, to convey my thoughts on this. Oh, wait. I think I do. Cue Beethoven! Teach! What do you think, Pops? My new crew, the best of the worst. Your son is dead. Now I'm gonna eliminate you and steal your devil fruit. Your era is done, old man. What do you have to say as your last words? Go to your room. Say ha! You think I said go to your room, Teach? I'll band a deal with you later. You are getting such a spanking tonight. Men kill... No! Room! Now, mister! Done playing with your friends! Okay, Dad. I'm sorry. I just wanted to be like you, you know? You're the king of the world. Why can't I be? Teach, if you just would have said something to me earlier without the whole mutiny and killing one of my children, you know, this could have all just ended a lot smoother. Dad! Son! Oh man, I can't believe that worked. I am about to pass out. That was nothing short of just a miracle. Okay, but seriously, alright, let's get to the actual, like, ramifications of this. We could make the whole video just about ways Blackbeard could get... Okay, so, with no Blackbeard means there's not going to be, you know, Blackbeard's fleet, Blackbeard's not going to be a Yonko. Whitebeard is still kind of on death's door here. I made a video before talking about what would happen if Whitebeard won the war. If Ace and Whitebeard both survived and they escaped the war. So there's part of this that kind of ties into that video. So let's say Whitebeard still dies in this scenario. He just manages, or everybody manages to wipe out Blackbeard before he dies. Okay, so in this scenario, Ace is still dead, Whitebeard's still dead. It's just Blackbeard and his crew are either, well, the crew is either wiped out too, or the crew is just disbanded. So there's no Yonko. There's no Blackbeard the Yonko, okay? So that means there's still an opening for a Yonko position, okay? This is something that I can actually feel, like, excitement for. Because imagine if Blackbeard's not in the scenario to take that position as the 4th Emperor. Who's gonna be the new 4th Emperor? I don't think it would be anybody immediately. Rather, what I think it's gonna be is it would be a massive competition between all of the supernovas to become the next emperor. Because the way it's set up in the manga is just, you know, Blackbeard was already had all this power, so he just kind of gets it with the stunt he pulled, right? But now there's no position, so it's only 3 emperors right now. We only got Big Mom, Kaido, and Shanks. I cannot think, I mean, yeah, you could always throw in, like, some old school pirates like Shiki, or what about that Rocks fellow? Yeah, you could throw in people like that from, like, movies and things, but I don't think there'd be an immediate emperor crowned. Rather, I think everybody would kind of hold off on that until somebody really showed up that could rival Whitebeard's power. And I think that's the supernova generation. So all of the supernovas might actually be more fired up than they were at the end of the war. Like Kid and Hawkins and Apu and everybody might go to the New World, and they might be bringing way more fire than they did, you know, earlier in the other version of the manga, where it's like, we gotta hurry up, you know, you know, Apu took out this entire village that Big Mom controls, well, as Eustace Kid, I gotta wipe out these 2 islands that Kaido controls, and they just go at it like crazy. Like, they might suffer some more battle wounds and stuff, but they might take way more risks with this. They might, you know, like go after Kaido and Shanks's and Big Mom's territories with a lot more zeal, because they feel like if they succeed doing something that, like, Luffy does at Totland, then they get that title and the entire world fears them. So yeah, I don't think a new emperor would be crowned right away, but it would take some time. But eventually, hey, maybe after the 2-year time skip, because let's just say the 2-year time skip still occurs in this scenario, Luffy and everybody still goes away to train. Maybe they come back and they find out, oh yeah, freaking Drake or Kid is one of the new Yonkos, or they find out that there is no new Yonko, or they find out this completely new pirate that we never even knew anything about made new waves in the world, and he's one of the new emperors. I mean, that would be cool in and of itself if they introduced a new character all of a sudden, right? Like, he's like, yeah, in the 2 years you were gone, this one pirate, he was inactive for years, but he came back. And with that one slot open, he took that position, and he's a fearsome foe. I mean, it would be kind of, like, weird, because it's like, oh, a whole new character we never knew anything about. But this is the One Piece world. There could be strong people like Fujitora. Fujitora was just some random guy that was, like, blind, but this wicked powerful swordsman that had the gravity fruit that was somewhere out in the world for the world government draft. So there's definitely strong people living out there in the world somewhere. Strong people that could become pirates. Who knows, right? Maybe it could have even been somebody that was inspired by Whitebeard. Maybe there was, like, an old friend of Whitebeard living out in the South Blue, and he was, like, an old pirate, like, 30 or 40 years ago, and he just hung up his captain robe or whatever, and he's like, captain robe, this is Bleach now, whatever. Anyway, he's like, yeah, I'm done. But then he sees Whitebeard's triumphant display at Marineford and wiping out Teach and defending his children and everything, and he's like, I think it's time for me to take up the position. These little brats aren't going to be able to take the position of the 4th Emperor. I'm gonna do it. And so he rallies his old crew together, and he's like, oh, there's this new character, Captain Long John Silver, who's pretty powerful, and we just never knew anything about him up to this point. And then the Straw Hats have to deal with Captain Long John up until that. That would be cool in of itself to introduce a brand new character. There's some merit to that. What about Aokiji? That's something else I threw out there. Well, here's the thing. I'm not entirely sure Sengoku would step down in this scenario, because I feel like part of the reason Sengoku stepped down after Marineford, it wasn't just because all of the damages they incurred and everything. I think it was more because of the way that Blackbeard played everybody. I mean, Sengoku had his Blackbeard showed up, he took out Whitebeard, he stole his fruit. This is a massive disgrace. I mean, even more so, all of the casualties we suffered and everything, we eventually did manage to succeed in eliminating and executing Ace. That was what our plan was, and we did succeed in that. But then Blackbeard showed up and made kind of an embarrassment out of everybody, including the Marines. I think that's major part why Sengoku decided to step down when he did. So in this scenario, if, Sengoku, Garp, and Whitebeard all teamed up and they took out Blackbeard right then and there, Sengoku might, he still would feel it. The Marines are kind of okay, we kind of went overboard with this. There's still a mass breakout at Impel Down. We have to deal with all that crap. But you also have to keep in mind, we still won. We defeated Blackbeard. We nipped this in the bud when we had to. So Sengoku might still become the Fleet Admiral, so there's no reason for Aokiji and Akainu to have their epic fight. But let's say they did. Let's say they still did have their epic fight at Punk Hazard. If Aokiji was still defeated, there's no Blackbeard crew to team up with, so if he left, he might go on his own, or he might go team up with some other Yonko. Aokiji might join up with Shanks, or Kaido, or Big Mom, or something. Or Captain Long John, if it's another Yonko that got added to it, maybe. Okay, so that's a possibility to think of. As for, the end game of the series, and of course we're not there yet, but as for the end game of the series, you would probably put Luffy up against Akainu as more of a final villain, and in fact, if there's no Blackbeard, maybe what Oda might have done is he might have just pushed Akainu way more as the main villain. All those epic scenes we saw with Blackbeard on his island and, building up Blackbeard, maybe we cut over to Akainu and it's more focus on him. Akainu's gonna be the main villain for Luffy to take down, right? You could always throw Shanks in there as that's gonna be the final battle. Or, other option, Im-sama, although I don't think Im is gonna be come on, Luffy, let's brawl. Im is this stick guy, or, girl, or whoever, a ghost, whatever it turns out to be, and it takes off its robe and it's bulks up like a Dragon Ball Z character, Broly, Brodoosh, bring it on, Luffy, and they clash right there. I don't think it's gonna be anything like that, but I could see the push more for Akainu, definitely, for main villain that Luffy would have to defeat, right? That already exists. Luffy and Akainu basically have to fight. I would prefer it to be a Luffy-Sabo team-up fight against Akainu for a number of reasons, so it's sort of like the three brothers fighting against Akainu, you have Luffy, Sabo, and then Sabo has the Mera powers, which kind of represent Ace, and then they fight against Akainu as the three brothers together. That would be a really poetic kind of way to end Akainu, whether or not they actually kill him or not, but just, they defeat him, and dethrone him, and it's he can no longer be Fleet Admiral after that occasion, or something like that. We're definitely going to see that. What about the Warlords? Some of the Warlords, I could look at Doflamingo or somebody, and they might be hey, there's an Emperor position open. We might be able to, screw the Warlord position. We're going to disregard that, and I'm going to go be an Emperor. Doflamingo kind of needed his position as Warlord because of Dressrosa and everything, and his deal with Kaido. But with that situation, Doflamingo might get really excited over that. Doflamingo might be wait a second here. I have this thing going on right now with Caesar and the SAD and manufacturing smiles to give to Kaido, but with this position of Yonko open, I might be able to take that slot, cut out the middleman, and I might be able to take out Kaido, and I might end up the king of all this. So Doflamingo might be getting kind of, arrogant, might be thinking, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna become the new Yonko, because Doflamingo kind of already has the pedigree. He could just bail out of the Warlords, and his bounty would shoot through the roof immediately, and, he could somehow double-cross Kaido, it's here are your smiles for the quarter here, near Kaido, and Kaido takes them, and they're like booby trap smiles or something, like they're explosive or they're poison or something, and Doflamingo's like, ha, I took out the beast pirates. I am now the new Yonko, you know? So maybe something like that. Crocodile's still around. I don't think Crocodile's set up yet to become a Yonko. I think Crocodile is a little bit, he just broke out of prison. He's got one guy helping him out. It's like, I don't think he's going to be able to become, you know, Yonko overnight. But it's a possibility. He might be like, all right, that position's open. I'm going to go to the New World. Come on, Mr. One. Let's build up our forces, and maybe someday we might be able to take the position of the stash. Crocodile tries to grow a stash, because at the end of the day, Crocodile wanted to kill Whitebeard. That was his main goal when he was like an upstart pirate, and he failed. That's also probably the reason he wanted to get Pluton. I mean, he said he wanted to rule the world, but honestly, I think he just wanted to take out Whitebeard. It's like, what do you guys do, Whitebeard? I got Pluton now. So I think Crocodile secretly, he had this respect for Whitebeard. He really did. He wanted to kill him, but he also had the respect for him, like, when Whitebeard was dying, he's like, you are not this weak, old man. So, you know, that kind of crap with Crocodile. But I could see him vaunting for that position. Not sure if he'll get it, but I could see him trying to get it, right? You know, we might even have like a balance of power shift in the Yonko. You know, we might have like the Yonko facing off against each other a lot more now. Like, we might have Big Mom going up against Kaido, Shanks fighting against Kaido, you know, all these different combinations now that Whitebeard's gone and there's like a vacuum of power. You know, there's not really a balance much anymore. You know, because a lot of the Yonko, like Shanks and Whitebeard were Yonko that kind of kept the balance. Shanks and Whitebeard were pirates, but they were respectful pirates. They had a moral code of conduct. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't going around burning islands down and committing all these horrible, like, illegal, like the thing that Kaido's doing with the smiles, or the thing Big Mom was trying to do with the Germa and get all the science and everything. Like Shanks and Whitebeard were pretty much keeping it real as Yonko, right? But then you had Big Mom and Kaido, which were a little bit more erratic in the way they handled things, right? They were literally trying to take over the world, in a sense. They were trying to become the kings of the world, of the pirates. But now that Whitebeard's gone, one of these, you know, more stable Yonkos is gone. I don't know if Shanks will be able to maintain the balance between both of, you know, Kaido and Big Mom, so they might start fighting more. Who knows? As for the Whitebeard crew themselves, if Whitebeard still dies, there's no reason, though, for the Whitebeard crew to go fight the payback war against Blackbeard's group, because Blackbeard's group is wiped out. So they could basically still become the pirates. Maybe in this scenario, maybe even Marco might take over the position, but I don't know. I don't know. If you think Marco would want that, you think Marco would want to be the new Yonko, he might be one of the considerations for it, because there's no reason for the Whitebeard crew to disengage, disassemble. You know, Whitebeard crew, disassemble, you know, to break up, because they were together for a year, then the payback war happened, and then they're like, all right, I dismantle the crew, because this is just a travesty. But here it'd be like they get back together, they recover from their wounds at Marineford, and they would go back with Marco being their new captain. But would they be a Yonko status just because Marco is there? Whitebeard was really the strong force in that position more than anything. So I think, you know, it would be between Marco and the Warlords, and the Supernovas would be thrown in there, and maybe some other pirates that might come out of the woodwork. Who knows? If anything, it would be a massive cluster screw. It would be extremely chaotic. It wouldn't just be peaches and cream, like, oh, well, Blackbeard's gone. It might definitely be one of those scenarios where it might end up making things worse. You know, like, people always talk about how, like, oh, if we could go back in time and stop World War II, or stop this horrible disaster in the past, that would make the world automatically such a better place. You just don't know. You have no idea how those dominoes might fall. You might go back and stop the German invasion of Poland, and then it turns out, like, 10 years later, something worse happens. You know, like, Russia invades India or something, and it leads to something even worse. Who knows? I don't know. You know, like, but you just don't know. So that's the thing. Like, the situation might actually be worse for wear. It might end up like, all right, Whitebeard's gone, so Shanks and Kaido and Big Mom start this all-out war, and then Shanks has to get involved, and then the Marines get involved, and it's just boom, 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 and then just, and then the Straw Hats get back from training, and the new world is just a burnt-out wasteland. It's just like, shit, what happened here? You know, we don't know. And then the Supernovas get involved, too. Maybe the Warlords did while the Straw Hats were out training. So, yeah. This is a little bit more of a difficult what if scenario because Blackbeard is such an integral part of like the structure of the story. But let's just assume everything maintains its equilibrium for the most part. You know, I think that if it maintains pretty much the same basic structure, like Luffy and the crew get back together at Sabaody, they go to Fishman Island, they go to Punk Hazard, they go to Dressrosa, they go to Zoe, they go all the same stuff right now. You could just say by the time Luffy finishes his fight against Big Mom and they're leaving her territory, you know, Soul Pocus, all that crap, they get the paper and it's like Luffy is now the new official fourth emperor. You know, he takes Whitebeard's position after what he did at Big Mom's territory. So I don't think the series would stay the same because I think way too much stuff would be different. But if it did stay the same, that's I think how the end of result would be. Luffy takes the position after Totland, and then he's not the fifth emperor, he's the fourth, he's the new Yonko. The new Yonko have assembled. It's Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom, and now Luffy. So that would be cool. I'm not sure how different it would be right now, because the fifth emperor is kind of like an honorary title. It's just like, all right, Luffy, you're the fifth emperor, but he doesn't have as much clout as the other ones. In this scenario, he kind of would, you know, so, interesting. And his bounty might be even higher after that. You know, maybe his bounty after Big Mom, they might make it what Blackbeard's bounty ended up being, like 2.2 billion or something like that. So, yeah, who knows? But thank you guys for dealing with my, headcanon fest again. I always love doing what-if scenarios. They're always a lot of fun just to sit down and think of all the crazy scenarios that could unfold if, like, this didn't happen, then this could occur. And I'm super surprised that this mustache stayed on. This is just craft foam. All right, this is just like an adhesive backing. I think it immediately fell off last time I did this, but dang, that's awesome. Oh, man, I feel like, oh man, isn't there an anime character that has this? Was he from like Saint Seiya or Knights of the Zodiac or something? There was a character that kind of had this. I don't know. This is reminding me of a character somewhere. He took this off his head and used it as like a razor boomerang or something. I don't know. Let me know. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. See ya, everybody. There's just like a smiley face on top of his smiley face. Later, everybody.